it's like a lot of kids these days. Everybody talks tough in a club when they know they got like 4 or 5 of their homeboys or homegirls hanging around them. But when it's time to go outside, me no want to go.
So nobody wants to catch you outside. Huh?
Exactly. Or it's like I'm talking tough in there and I'm about to get wore out when I go outside because my boys are like, hey, you dug this hole, man. You know, sometimes you got to pay what you owe.
Oh my gosh.
Marshall in the middle.
Hello, hello, hello.
Howard, sweet. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Looking good. Looking good. Look at you, man. In your little cool little room. All right. That's not going to work for video.
Yeah. No. So I got to put you in one of these computer or cell phone stand things here.
All right.
I'm just getting a little bit of feedback, but feedback is good.
Oh my gosh. All right. Command Sergeant Major Gary Plotnick, everybody. The man, the myth, the legend. OMG. How many jumps do you have?
Only 106, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So I have like 122, I think, you know. For some reason, I thought you would have like a crap load of jumps. You were probably safety and everything.
No, I mean, you had some people who were always chasing jumps,
right?
And you can't have leadership out of the office all the time. So somebody always needs it because when the cat's away, the mouse will play. You know, so you got.
Oh man, where are you from?
Originally, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Where again?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
So what year were you born?
1969.
Oh my gosh, I was born in 68. So tell me about growing up, man.
Just regular, well, not really regular, but just, I mean, school, playing, man, outside, football, you know, baseball, basketball, doing whatever, just into sports, staying out, drinking off water spigots from people's houses, you know what I mean? Wasn't no inside. You know, nobody, I think back then didn't want to be inside. You always wanted to be outside, just be home before the street lights come on and, you know, eat dinner, do some dishes, go back out, get you another hour outside and come on back in. So regular childhood, I think.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Did you live in the country or the city or the suburbs or, you know, did you walk to school?
Lived in both. So I lived in the city, which Harrisburg is the capital of Pennsylvania. So, but I did live down in the city and then we moved to a suburb, which is called Paxtonia, which is about 10 or 15 minutes away. So I would walk to my bus stop, take the bus to school, unless I wanted to ride an early bus to go over to my grandfather's house, which is right across the street from our school, or me and my brother would ride bikes to school. So just depended.
So were you the kid that kind of stayed out of trouble, or were you bullied, or were you the bully? What, you know, which one of those were you, if any?
I tried to stay to myself. If problems arose. You know, I guess I got enough. I don't want to say BS at the house. You know, like, so was I ever suspended? No. Did I have detention? Maybe once or twice. But, you know, you just kind of didn't want to be in the limelight, in a negative limelight. So that's kind of how I guess I get. Now, what happened outside of school and outside of adults, totally different story. But
well, that's what I want to hear about. Tell me. So like I told the story about my first fight. Did you get in a fight in school when you were a kid?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, it just like it kind of escalated kind of quickly. You know, some blows were thrown. Normally, teachers or walking up and down the hallway, so people block it and break it up and start dispersing, so they don't know, you know, what's going on. So, which was awesome, you know, you at the end of the day when you think about it. But then somebody's like, hey, meet me at, you know, this park and we'll finish this. So then, you know, this is a different story. But in school, it's like a lot of kids these days, everybody talks tough in a club when they know they got like 4 or 5 of their homeboys or homegirls hanging around them. But when it's time to go outside, me no want to go.
So nobody wants to catch you outside. Huh?
Exactly. Or it's like I'm talking tough in there and I'm about to get wore out when I go outside because my boys are like, hey, you dug this hole, man. You know, sometimes you got to pay what you owe.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Did you ever have to pay what you owed?
Oh yeah, I got beat down a couple times.
Oh my gosh. So, you know, like you joined the Army. Did, you know, tell me about that. How old were you? What happened that you end up joining the Army? You know, most of us, you know, didn't join because, you know, we had the world ahead of us and our dreams were so awesome. Many of us dreamed of being a soldier. Were you that kind of guy?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I was done with school. You know what I mean? Like, so I graduated. Traditional high school. We did have a vote tech high school, but I went to a traditional high school. But I just knew like college and school and academics wasn't in my future. So I was like, so what am I gonna do? You know, you can only work at so many different stores, shops, or whatever. But the Army was always appealing to me. And so it was a pretty easy decision. I got into the delayed entry program of January of 1987 at 17 years old, graduated in June, and was in basic training in August. So I kind of knew what my path was going to be.
That's awesome. Did you do good in basic and AIT and stuff? Were you a good soldier?
So I joined initially as an engineer. And yeah, so I got promoted to PV2 in basic training on a program called the Trailblazer program. I don't know why, but I was just a private doing what I was told to do. Hopefully I did it well. And the drill sergeants acknowledged that. And I got a waiver for PV2 while I was in basic training. And I had a one station unit training. So from basic AIT, same room, same drill sergeant, same roommates, same everything, 13 straight weeks. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Who was your drill sergeant? You remember?
I remember the one that I, you know, looked up to or respected the most was Drill Sergeant Rice. I mean, this dude called some freaking cadence for your ass, but man, he would freaking bring the scunion down on you just as quick. He can motivate you and, you know, do what he got to do as a drill sergeant.
Hey, so did you ever get scunion brought on you? Did you ever get smoked?
Oh, yeah. Had a couple guys fighting in a broom closet, and he seen me standing outside. I'm trying to break it up, but he came down and got on me for allowing it to happen. But, yeah, I mean, oh, yeah. I was beating my boots. I was doing all kind of crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think, you know, outside of UCMJ, you know, that is the best form of corrective action to me. It's just get scuffed up right there, scuffed up right then, and it's forgot about. And then carry on, man. Let's go. Let's handle business.
It's an interesting culture we were brought up in, right? It's, you know, as we look back on it, it was, you know, dude, we were throwing people out of the second story window in wall lockers. I watched that. I didn't throw him out, but I was there, dude. I saw him go down, you know. Did you see any crazy stuff like that happen?
No, I mean, in basic training?
Anytime.
Oh, okay. In basic training, though, I will specifically say that this guy tried to knock another soldier out with his boots while he was sleeping and tried to light his bunk on fire. But it was the green wool blankets and the thing wouldn't catch on fire. But, man, you never know what you're going to get, you know?
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So
like caught on fire, tried to burn
the dude, tried to knock him out and burn him in his bed in the barracks. Yeah.
Did he deserve it?
He got chaptered, but I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So, you know, gosh, I want to get to some Charlie 9349 stories, but let's hold back just for a second. Let's hold back just for a second. So, you know, you're an engineer, and where were you at?
I was in Korea, first duty station.
Okay.
Where I truly learned my craft as a bridge crew member. And then I went to Fort Benning, and then from Benning, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, came back to Benning, and then I actually ETS. I was just like, the Army's easy. I'm 22 years old, but I didn't see, I didn't have the foresight to see the potential in the Army. I was just like, I could do something different. But yeah, so it was Korea, Fort Benning, and then Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and then ETS.
So tell me about Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
So we did not an engineer mission, at least for me. I was over there to augment some other units and ended up going to a transportation company. So MSR Dodge, lot of accidents, I mean, it was one of the main MSRs. So, you know, it would get rocketed every once in a while. But I think really just going back to in processing and getting into theater, we were in this tin kind of like almost like an aluminum shed building. And this night is when Saddam or the Iraqi army, they launched like about 8 or 9 Scud missiles. And it was like the sides of the building were like warping. And, you know, so you got people running around, gas, just acting crazy. And I'm like, look, we can't call timeout. We're not going to catch a Scud if it comes through the roof, you know, so just relax, just do what you got to do, you know. But I had this calmness, not that I was like ready, like if it came through, but what's weird is none did. But about 2 days later, that same building was hit, and it killed like 90 something Pennsylvania National Guard service members that were in there. And then the next day we had to go over there and do some casualty movement and like equipment pickup and yeah, in consolidation. And it wasn't a pretty sight. So yeah.
So you were in that building a couple of nights before
it actually got hit. Yes. So like the night, like those 8 or 9 Scuds were coming through, didn't hit anything. About 2 days later, boom, direct hit on that building.
And then you decided to join air defense to save your next buddies, right?
Well, no. Well, so like I said, I got out, and then I wanted to come back in. I had a decent job as a 22-year-old kid. I was working for a trucking company. I wasn't like a truck driver. I was in the warehouse and stuff. I was making some good money as a 22-year-old kid back then. But what I missed was the camaraderie. You know, that people got your back. Like you might be having a bad day, somebody's going to pick up your slack. You just can't have a bad day every day. But on the civilian sector, they didn't give a crap. They were just like, hey man, it's dog eat dog out here, brother. And I need the benefits and I need this and that. So screw you. I got to make myself look better. And so I missed the camaraderie. So I tried to rejoin the military, but at the time it was after when we did the big downsizing. So people had re-enlisted and then they got bonuses to get out. So they were getting paid to get out. And so then they were only bringing back in special forces. So long story short, finally it opened up to all ranks because I think too many people got out. The Army didn't expect that. And then the only thing they offered me was, at the time, was 16 Papa, chaparral crew member.
What year was this?
1993.
Wow, that had to be the last class of Chaps, probably.
3-2 ADA out of Fort Lewis, Washington, and I went to a deactivating unit. So they brought me into AIT, trained me to be a chaparral crew member, sent me to Fort Lewis, Washington to deactivate the battalion.
Oh my gosh, who told me about that? Caradine told me about something very similar.
All right.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So what'd you do next then?
So as we were deactivating, I was already airborne qualified because I was at Fort Benning and I volunteered for airborne school and you were there. So I said, hey, what do I need to do to be a paratrooper? And I forget who the HRC rep was at the time. It was Sergeant First Class. I don't want to say it was Sutton. It was something like that. And he was like, oh, you're already airborne? He was like, oh, yeah, you're going airborne, Fort 16 Sierra, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I said, yep, that's what I want to do. I want to be a paratrooper. And so I went to Fort Bliss, went back to AIT, went to Fort Bragg.
So you come to Fort Bragg as a specialist, sergeant?
I came as a sergeant E5, yes. Oh, so when I got out the Army, I made sergeant at 20 years old. Joined at 18, sergeant at 20. ETS 22. Came back in 15 months later, specialist Plotnick. But I still have my NCO-isms about me. But anyway, yeah, so went back to the board, got promoted. So yes, when I arrived to 82nd Airborne Division replacement, I was Sergeant Plotnick.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So, you know, tell me first, let's not gloss over airborne school. What was it like to jump out of airplanes? You know, did you like it?
I'll tell you right now, the 34-foot tower is what killed me in airborne school until the one black hat. He was like, hey man, you're Michael Jordan, jump up and get a rebound. And I was like, all right, I understood that. It wasn't until about my third jump, and I remember shaving, and I was like, I can't believe that I'm getting ready to go jump out an airplane for the fourth time. So, you know, I think the first few, you're just in, you know, your adrenaline's just so high. And then all of a sudden you start realizing, like, really, I'm getting suited up to, and then it ain't like it is on Green Ramp. You can't touch any of your equipment once you get JMPI'd. Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, great times, great times. So tell me about coming up to be in the 82nd Airborne Division as a sergeant, a paratrooper, and all of that. So you showed up at Fort Bragg, what, 93, 94?
94, yeah, 94.
Oh my, cool.
I will tell you one of my first runs on Ardennes in a battery formation. And I was in Delta Battery at the time, and I'll get back to Delta Battery because everybody acted like that was a stepchild battery. So I guess I'll lead off with Delta Battery. But Delta Battery fielded a minimum that I can think of 6, but I think it was 8 sergeants majors out of that one battery alone. One battery. And just running on Ardennes, and I remember the special forces, I don't know if it was SFAS or who it was, ran by us one day, and they ran around our formation with their guide on. So our front 3 snatched that guide on bearer running by our formation and stole their guide on and ran around their formation. Both formations like stopped and got into a fist fight right there on our dance. And I was like, what kind of organization did I just show up in? But hey, you respect the yellow line and you respect the unit, man, at the end of the day.
Hey, dude, I remember like times where some of the guys, Flag was one of the main ones, would talk about, you know, putting that shoulder on the yellow line and don't you cross that yellow line, I'm gonna punish you, right?
Yep.
Those were crazy days back then, man. The 90s, early 90s in the 82nd Airborne Division weren't no joke, right?
No doubt.
Hey, so do me a favor and tell me some of those sergeant majors you're talking about. You know, Segredo, Thagard, I mean, all kinds of guys, right?
Well, for me, it was, I'll try to do it the way I think of how it happened, was Hernandez, He was our first sergeant, and he went to the academy. Then Thagard, Cook, DeGracia, Burnley, me. And then, but there, I know there's one or two more that I'm missing in that battery. But then we got CW5s and CW4s that are in the force right now that we all served in that battery together. And that was just my first battery. So from there, I went to Korea and then came back. Then I was in Alpha Battery. But, you know, hearing Paris Williams, and he mentions a lot of guys, you know, but it is what it is. I mean, the Sky Strikers to me, and I'm not just talking about a 3-4 thing, but the Sky Striker Battalion, and more importantly, the 82nd Airborne Division is what really showed me the Army. And back in the day when we called it battlefield operating systems, not war fighting functions now, but you got to see the expanding of the lodgement, understanding what field artillery is doing, understand what engineers are doing, understand what air defense is. And it just showed me the only duty station that ever showed me what the Army does.
Yeah, it was, you know, you stand around at the rock drills and you had a tiny little part in the rock drill, but being there let you see a much bigger picture. And yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Tell me something else about running down Ardennes. You know, like if you went there and you got to Ardennes, you taking a left or you taking a right? Which way are you going to go?
From Charlie 9349?
Yeah.
I'm always going left, Sarge.
Always going towards Long Street, huh?
Or you could run down to Smoke Bomb Hill, which we would always do too, you know, so you could go that way. But I mean, more importantly, I mean, what I loved about even the location of that building, right? Ardennes is right there. But then you hit Area J, you hit the McCall fire breaks, and you hit whatever else, and there's some good sweat. You're coming back nice and right.
So were you good at PT always, or was that something you worked hard at, or were you just real loud about it?
No, push-ups. I was a pro. I'd knock out 82, get back in line. They'd be like 1 minute remaining. So I always maxed out. Sit-ups, they're like 10, 51, 52. But then running, I mean, I think the fastest run maybe for 2 miles I ever had was like maybe 12:45, the most. But even as a first sergeant, I think my fastest was like a 14:19. Yeah, so not too bad. But I had to run to get good at running. I just got dropped a lot when I was a private and a sergeant, so that's why I was good at push-ups.
One of the things that helped me to do push-ups as I look back on my career is when I finally realized that if I would just do 50 push-ups without stopping, that getting the last ones would be fine. If I stopped early, and at the end of my career, I got to the point where I would do 62 without stopping on my way to 82. Did you have a magic number at 82 like I did?
No, well, I always wanted to do the max, and just so happens ours at the time and before they switched the PT test was 82. So that was always my goal. But one day it was a competition. I think I did 125 in 2 minutes.
Wow, that's a lot.
That was like, that's it. Forget about it. After that, I was just like, that's it. I'll just do whatever I need to do. But yeah.
Tell me about coming to the 82nd as a sergeant and being, you know, as a new at your job. Right? Were you a new Stinger guy?
Yeah. Well, yes, new Stinger and new paratrooper. So I was cherry at both of them, and really kind of nervous. You know what I mean? In a way, is because soldiers are looking at you for guidance, for leadership, for whatever. And when you're like, okay, well, this specialist been here for 2 or 3 years, got way more airborne ops than me, you know what I mean? So to me, there's some aspects of things, and I don't know if this is even answering your question, but there are some aspects of things where it's relative. Doesn't really matter your rank. it's a lot about experience. And so if you're an enlisted soldier, well, hell, I guess we're all enlisted soldiers, but you know, you're a specialist, I'm a sergeant, you got more experience in this. I'm not too proud to say, hey, school me on that, you know, but to employ the system, oh yeah, I took a lot of bumps and bruises. I mean, even Wilbur V. Adams, that dude came to our formation one day, pulled me out of formation and said, I ever hear you talk to your commander like that again, me and you were freaking going to have words or whatever. So it was, and that was when the Avenger came online. So we had just fielded it. You know, there were no spreaders and poles, you know, for the nets. It was just like a drape thing. Yeah, long story, but yeah, Wilbur V came over there and yeah, he put me in my place real quick.
Isn't it neat? Look, we all look for a leader, right? We all look for a leader. We all want a leader. Sometimes when a leader shows up, though, it's like, oh man, okay. But he had a way of hugging you while he chewed you out, right?
Yeah. I think it was all in. It was in. It was. I think you know, if there was anybody, and I think, I don't know, if I modeled myself off of any one individual, it was a guy like him, because he knew what was going on in the battalion. He knew. And whether he knew it from the officers or from the enlisted or what he knew, he knew. And that was something that always stood out with me, at least with him, is he knew the goings on in his organization.
So looking back on your time as a, you know, command sergeant major, battalion command sergeant major, brigade, were you a brigade sergeant major?
Well, 10th
or just the 10th double AMDC is that, because it says higher than brigade, right?
Well, now it is. Now,
yeah,
I fleeted it up to the 1-star. I was there for that transition.
Oh my gosh!
But it was just in 06, and that's why we got treated a little bit like stepchildren, because you got 2 general officers and then a colonel with 32nd and 94th. But really, I think my legacy, I'm gonna tell you, Will, I think is as a first sergeant. I truly do. I think I influenced and affected more people in a population wise as a first sergeant. Now, for platoon sergeants and first sergeants, I affected them more as a sergeant major, whether I was an ops or command. But at the first sergeant, at that battery, that on the street level, I think first sergeant is absolutely the most rewarding. You could take the sergeant major stuff and do whatever you want to do with it. But the diamond, until people understand the real power of that diamond.
So I was a first sergeant. I loved it. We had a great team. You know, tell me about your time as a first sergeant.
Well, so when I first put the diamond on, it was when 3-4 Bravo and Charlie were coming back from Iraq. So there was a lot of, you know, so we at Alpha and Delta were already postured as Patriot. Bravo and Charlie were the last of the short range that were over there. So it was in transition. And then I moved to Echo Battery. Colonel, now Brigadier General retired Underhill, was like, yep, you're going over to Echo Battery. I took that over. We got a non-traditional mission for the battalion for detainee ops, and over half my battery got put into Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. And then I had to rebuild, and then I left for Iraq less than a year later. So there were some growing pains, you know, but I will tell you that, you know, so you got a lot of, I can't answer your question. I mean, so just taking care of people, right? We got a lot of quasi leaders, right? Because they have a rank on their chest or on their sleeve, but a lot of them are check swinging, to use a baseball analogy. If you're going to commit give me the full swing. And once you commit, the soldier's going to buy into the organization and to the leadership. But if all you're doing is check swinging, you're never going to be successful. So, and that's one thing I pride myself in is I commit to the swing, whether it's a strike or not, or a hit, I just committed to the swing.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Thanks for sharing. I love the concept, man. It hits home. It homes for me personally right now, you know, with the team that I'm building. And I got somebody check swinging, you know. I love it. I love it. Thanks.
Some drop the bat. Some drop the bat, though. So they don't only check swing. They just drop the whole bat.
But that's easier to deal with. Yeah, that's easier to deal with, though, when they drop the bat and run away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me more. Tell me another story.
What do you mean?
I don't know. You got to have a story out there somewhere. All right. So tell me about. So you told me about the sergeant majors that came out of that Delta Battery unit. You talked about the warrant officers, you know, that were there and are still doing great things. I know Dohan immediately comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
Look, great folks. You know, tell me more about going to. Did you go to JRTC? You ever remember doing that?
Yeah, I went to NTC, and that's probably the biggest eye opener. I went to JRTC three times, but NTC only once. And NTC, I mean, I love JRTC, although I got beat down. I mean, because every OC is on a platoon sergeant. That's why. I mean, you don't have a dedicated OC like the teams do. You're a platoon sergeant, so you're getting busted up by all the OCs. NTC only had one. And so once they found out who was tactically sound, they just kept them in the TAA. And again, sometimes I'm just dating myself in your tactical assembly area, you know, whatever. Once they were like, oh, Salazar, he's competent. I know that team's good. You're killed, and just stay in the TAA. And they take your least competent, if you will, teams out there. But one OC in that large of a footprint can't give you a fair snapshot of really what you're about, or what your organization is about. But I'm telling you, it's humbling. Both of them are humbling, because, you know, you find out flaws, you find out mistakes, you know, and glad you do it then versus on a two-way rifle range. So, I mean, I've been, like I said, I only got 3 NTC or 3 JRTC and only 1 NTC rotation. But I mean, yeah, they were eye-opening. They were humbling. All 4 of them humbling.
Oh, yeah. So at the time, you know, that was kind of the best thing we had to train and get prepared. And it did us well. Tell me about deploying to war. You know, you went to the Persian Gulf the first time, and you know, you tell me more about those kinds of things.
Well, I mean, I think I already covered some of the Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I mean, Afghanistan, it was an all right deployment, more fobbish until we got to actually roll with like some of the Delta companies. Put a couple teams, air assaulted some Avengers for static defense. Again, learning experience. The infantry was rolling out every 3 days, new schnooks. I probably should have rotated teams. Didn't do it, caught on a little bit too late. But we were doing ground assault convoys and stuff like that over there in Afghanistan. And that was me as a platoon sergeant, staff sergeant, you know, and deployed the platoon over there. Then moved to Iraq, did my entire battery, my Echo 3-4. Man, a lot of indirect fire. Paris Williams was over there, so at least I had, you know, somebody I could reach out to in Task Force 3-3. But my guys were on the road. That DSTB commander was like, I got some Ranger platoon leaders here, and I got some daggone paratroopers. Nah, we're opening your battle space to MNDB, not just what some other organization that I relieved was just going back and forth to the IZ and to Taji. He was like, no, your footprint's MNDB. And so we had some some situations there. Not all good. I've been on carpet a couple times, but you know, I mean, it's called combat for a reason. But yeah. But so, I brought everybody back. Brought everybody back.
Amen. 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 So, did you ever get a butt chewing? You're really proud that you took the butt chewing because it was so right to take it. You ever? I got a couple situations like that. You know, talk about being on the carpet. You know, I always found I stood on the carpet for the right reasons. You know.
Well, yeah, I think we are always going to fight the good fight. We're going to fight the good fight. And so, you know, with not going into too much detail, over in Iraq, I got pulled into the carpet because my guys returned fire after taking fire, but they didn't stop, they didn't cordon, and they didn't call the battle space commander to let them know what happened. They just Charlie Mike went straight through. So I'm putting this out there, but no names, so hopefully non-attributional. They know who they are if they tune into this podcast. However, I had another situation going on where a soldier in our formation, wife, had dropped his 5, 2, and 1-year-old kid off with other family members, and she jetted. She left them. Now, this guy had already served in Iraq, had a Purple Heart combat action badge, wears corrective lenses because of shrapnel he took to the face. And he wasn't trying to get out of the deployment, but his kids were basically abandoned. And so, yeah, after this mishap with the non-cordon, non-contact battle space, then I get into this argument. I'm like, sir, I've really got nothing else. Special Forces commander on top of all that. And I'm just like, hey, we got to talk about this dude. You know, what are we doing? You know, blah, blah, blah. It's a PFC, did this, did that, da. Next thing I know, he had a permanent release from theater. So we're going to fight the good fight. And I don't have a problem with standing up and fighting a good fight. But sometimes we think we're fighting a good fight, but we don't have all the information. And then it comes back and bites us in the duff. Yeah.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's happened before too. I get it. So tell me about some soldiers you're proud of. Tell me about some of those folks that, you know, you maybe mentored along the way that you're proud of.
Well, I can't, because I can, you know, but I hate, it's almost like a change of responsibility or a change of command. And, you know, somebody's going to say, well, they didn't mention me, you know, so, but I will tell you that I was blessed to be at every echelon, whether I was a section sergeant, a platoon sergeant, a first sergeant, and a sergeant major, to have outstanding, if you will, subordinate leaders that I've watched grow to either master sergeant, first sergeant, and then quite a few of them through the Sergeant's Major Academy or are attending now. Plotnick ain't always right, but what I will do right is for the organization and its people. You know, I don't break regulations. I might bend, stretch, twist, tweak, and do whatever I can for the benefit of the organization and its people. But to say individually who I'm proud of, you just can't do that, because you're going to miss somebody and somebody's going to be butthurt.
Don't want nobody butthurt. Don't want nobody butthurt. So tell me who's proud of you. Brag on your family just a minute.
I'm pretty sure my wife is, because we've been married for 22 years. My one and only. Will be my one and only. I mean, if this don't work out for some reason, I still will never, she'll be it. My daughter and my son joined the Navy. He's going to be a dental assistant. He just graduated corpsman school, I think on maybe 3 or 4 June. And now he goes to his dental assistant school. He's proud of me. I know my mom, my sister, my brother's retired Army. Me and him served at Bragg for almost 14 years together. That was pretty freaking cool that we got to be, and he's still here in Fayetteville and I'm still here in Fayetteville. So he's a 15-minute drive away. So there's my venting machine.
So you said your brother, right?
Yes.
Wow. So that's neat to have your brother so close to you and in the same profession. That doesn't always happen a lot, right?
No, it doesn't. We were always like, when I was at Fort Benning, he was in Alaska, or no, Fort Ord. Then he changed his MOS to finance, and I laughed at him. But right now he's a GS-12 working for JSOC, so he's laughing at me. Yeah, but then he got stationed in Alaska, and I was at Fort Bragg, and then he got curtailed, and they sent him to Fort Bragg, and that was back in like 1995. Yeah. So, but him and I mean, we've had the luxury of being kind of close, but also separated. Like, I'm in Korea, he's in Germany. I'm in Iraq, he's in Afghanistan, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it's been a blessing to have him this close.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Were you a good shot in the Army? You good shooting rifles and throwing grenades and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, M4, M16, yes. M9, no. Shot way more rifles, way more. I'm usually about a 37, 38, even on pop-ups. But M9, not as much.
So tell me about a time when you found yourself, challenged. Was there a school or something that was challenging for you? A lot of people talk about Jumpmaster school being challenging, or some other school.
Jumpmaster school was the school that made me have snot bubbles when I got my third no-go at JMPI.
Oh,
I mean, because I was like, I haven't failed anything. And, well, I'm not a failure. I'm just a no-go right now because I'm re-entry. But I'm still, didn't get it first time. I think my worst fear is outside of military, though. It's for your family. It's if I'm spending all this time trying to protect or trying to perfect my profession, and I'm choosing hard assignments, and some of those are dependent restricted. If I'm spending all that time away, I better freaking make it worth it for my family. You know what I mean? So in the military, I'm not saying it was easy, but it is regimented to a certain extent. You can call audibles and still make goals, or achieve success. But it's hard to call an audible with family because they ain't going to understand.
So
I don't know if that made any sense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So they say there's no atheist in foxholes. Was there a spirituality that keeps you going or kept you going in the hard times?
I don't know. I mean, I hate the fact that I can't answer that question. I believe, you know what I mean? I do. And I think I've been lucky way more outside of even the military, just with mishaps that could have been catastrophic, traffic accidents, this and that. I mean, I was hit by a car when I was 8 years old. I've done, other things. And so there's something that's out there, but I don't know what I reach to look for either comfort or whatever outside of my family. So like my brother, absolutely my number one best friend. It wasn't always that way, but it is. And then my family, it's like, what am I doing to come back to them? And am I doing the right thing? So, but a higher power, yes, I do. Like I said, I do believe, but am I praying and no, no, I'm not.
Tell me about your patriotism. You know, are you a big flag waver? I find myself kind of quiet, actually. A lot of people like to wear hats and, you know, be patriots. Obviously, you're patriotic.
Well, yeah, and if you notice, I don't know how to move with this camera. I think I got a golf shirt. It's yeah, there's an emblem somewhere on here. No, I mean, yes, but I'm not going to walk around and be like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, Command Sergeant Major retired. No, I'm just Gary, man. I'm just, I mean, but am I patriotic? Do I believe in the military service and in the country and the ideal of the United States of America? 100%, absolutely. But I don't want to walk around and just be like, hey, you're wearing camouflage pants. Did you serve? You know, did you do? I'm not going to high sign that right now. Maybe I will when I get in my 70s, hopefully, God willing. You know, I'm 70 or 80, then maybe I'll get some kind of hat or something, you know, stand out outside of Anthony's Pizza and be like, hey, what's up, little buddy?
Isn't that right? You know, we think about it. We like our predecessors, our World War II vets and our Vietnam vets, you know, it kind of gets reduced to that in some kind of way. Unfortunately, as we all become part of these groups, these social groups, you know, what do you see your future looking like? You know, what are you doing? Are you sitting there fishing in the pond, or, you know, what are you up to?
You know, it's a hard question to answer. And here's why I say that is because I knew who the military Gary Plotnick was at whatever rank. I knew who that was. What I don't know is who is the non-military Gary Plotnick right now. And so I was starting a job as a veteran service representative, and they offered me I don't know, what do you want to call it, assignment or a location was Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So could have been, you know, basically almost home. And I lived in Philadelphia when I was younger. Regardless, I didn't want to do two different households. I'm like, I just freaking retired. Why do I want to keep my wife and you know, here in North Carolina, and I want to go live in Philadelphia? I'm defeating the purpose. And so I turned it down. And when you turn it down, that's it. You're out of the training, and that's it. But once the retirement money kicked in and everything else, I was like, I'm good. My wife got a job with the state from North Carolina, so I can sustain being an empty nester with what I got. So right now, I'm just trying to figure out me. So I go off every once in a while, go out with my brother. Again, we pay to play. We don't get paid to play. So
you don't get to play as much, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, but that's me. Fishing is something I might try to pick up, but like right now, am I looking for a job? No. Do I want it to be somewhere around the military? No. It's not that I'm military bashing. I got a lot of people that, if anybody watches your podcast, that are here in the Fayetteville area that I still have not even seen. And I'm doing it on purpose. I got to start figuring out who Gary Plotnick is, not who, you know, Sergeant Plotnick is. That's it.
Hey, let me tell you, I went through several years where I refused to do any PT. I refused to set an alarm clock. You know, I did everything I could to just lay out, and that was good for a little while. And then, of course, I got on the scale one day, and I'm like, oh, crap, I better get to working out again. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Thanks so much for talking to me. You know, you were just always one of those no slack Delta battery dog, you know, just a great leader, man. I'm so proud to know you, buddy.
I'll tell you, and same to you. I mean, you and others have just, again, been an influence on me, whether you know it or not. And I mean, I'm proud to have served with a lot of people that I served with. You know, I'm not dropping a lot of names because you know almost all of them that we're already talking about. And it's weird that I would think that the the capstone of my career would have been, you know, a sergeant major, but really my legacy is being a first sergeant, because there is where I have all these other individuals calling me back and thanking me for what I did for them while I was a first sergeant. And I think that that is the greatest and best rank that the Army has. And not everybody's designed to be one. Not everybody's, I mean, it's like the division sergeant major said, I think it was Stanley Davis. He was like, hey, we promote you to master sergeant, we appoint you to first sergeant. Some of you don't need to be first sergeants, and it's truly right. But Will, I'll tell you, man, I don't know if this was good, bad, right or wrong. It was a good conversation, and I thank you for inviting me to do it.
Oh, heck yeah. I enjoyed it. Before we get out of here, I got to get you to salute. I want you to report and sign out. I would love it. Would you do that?
Do you want me to report as just like?
I don't know. Just how it.
Reporting?
Yeah, exactly. You know, my thought is beginning your time in service, maybe your name and hometown, and then ending your time in service when you say, you know, Command Sergeant Major Gary Plotnick signing out or something like that. I don't know.
All right. I'll wing it.
There you go. We'll figure it out.
Gary Plotnick, who hails from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, or excuse me, let me redo it.
Also, I want you to call your unit to attention too.
What unit? Like battalion, battery?
Whatever
battery?
unit you
I'll
want.
go battery.
There you go, whatever you want.
All right. Private Gary E. Plotnick, who hails from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, reporting to Marshall in the middle.
Can we do the, yeah, we do that.
I will. I will.
Okay.
I will. Battery, attention. Sergeant Major Plotnick, signing off.
Dude, that is so cool, right? That makes goosebumps just everywhere, man. Everywhere.
Hey, how do I switch this camera view?
I don't know. What are you trying to do? Oh yeah, just probably you can flip it around, maybe. I don't know. But yeah,
Let me show you something real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you the best plaque I ever got.
Yeah, let's see it.
Can you see that?
Bus driver, outstanding bus driver award.
Bus driver award.
I love it, man. I love it. That's great. Who gave you that?
A piece of paper. The staff sergeant that I had in 3-4, because I used to yell his name, and he'd be like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'd be like, "Hey, man, the wheels on the bus go round." I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing next week?" He's like, "I don't know. Why? What you need?" And I'm like, "I need somebody to be the NCOIC, the color guard, so we can go win this 18th Airborne Corps color guard." And he was a drill sergeant, strat guy, used to be a system maintainer, but I would always yell his name. And he'd be like, "What's up, Sergeant Major?" I was like, "Hey, man, the wheels on the bus. I need you to go do this." And he would always knock it out. So this dude picked up a piece of freaking paper out of the damn copy machine and hand drew that thing with some markers. And it's on my wall. It's on my wall, man.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for sharing, man. That's great. Sergeant Major Gary Plotnick, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Will.
Oh, my gosh. Heroes I know.